Welcome back to the Moyne Way Podcast, where we explore the people, ideas, and everyday moments that shape life here at Moyne College. Told through authentic stories, open conversations, and the spirit that makes this community one of purpose and belonging. Thanks for joining us this week on the Moyne Way Podcast, and we are blessed with the presence of the one and only Hope Adigun. I've been working on that last name. We got it right. Let's go.
Good to be here.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You good?
Been looking forward to this. We've been talking about it for the last week, so just
yeah.
Ready to talk about it, you know?
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me today. I want to start off with just giving some insight about yourself, but also what really brought you to Moyne, and why did Moyne feel like the right place for you?
Yeah, so it's actually, I know we didn't get the chance to talk about this yesterday. It's actually kind of funny, but also crazy how I ended up at Moyne, because it was one of my last options on my search.
Wow.
Nobody knows that, but so I am part of our women's soccer team, and part of my dream going out of high school, transitioning into college, was that I knew I wanted to play college soccer. Mm-hmm. And I started looking at a bunch of different schools. I knew that I was capable of playing at a higher level, so I was like, you want to know what? There's no harm with trying my luck and looking for a higher level competition. So I looked at a couple good D3s. I looked at a couple D2s. I had an initial offer from East Tennessee State, which is my father's alma mater, actually. He's in the Football Hall of Fame there.
Oh, ETSU?
So I looked at going there, and there was conversation happening, and as soon as they had fired their old athletic director that I had been talking to about my spot on the team, they were like, we don't know if we'd be able to offer you the same amount of money. And I was like, all right, well, that's going to be something that I have to talk about with my parents, and that might take me out of the running. And my sister and my brother-in-law, as we had talked about a couple minutes ago, both graduated from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I had gone so many times that I was like, I think that this is like somewhere that I would really love to go to school. I love the people that I met through her. I love the atmosphere, just being around, especially a group like their worship collective. Like, It was like, you want to know what? Like, I could totally get behind this. And so they're notorious for their soccer program. Like, their women's program is usually pretty good almost every single year. And so I was like, it might not end up the way I wanted to, but I'm still going to take a guess. So I went to one of their ID clinics, and I got a chance to talk to the head coach after. And I was like, hey, like, I just want to know if there's anything that you thought I needed to work on, or things that you thought I did great, because I'm really interested in getting a spot on your roster if it's available. And so he listed the things off that he wanted me to work on, which honestly were only 2 or 3 things. And I was like, all right, like, that's manageable. So I was continuously sending him film after that ID clinic from club tournaments, and I reached out May of my junior year, and I was like, hey, like, I just wanted to see if you guys were still looking at my class. Like, I know we haven't talked in a couple months, but I'm still interested in the spot if it's available. And the assistant coach responded, and he was like, unfortunately, we aren't recruiting your class anymore. And I was like, that one hurt a little bit more, because I was really excited about that opportunity. So I continued looking. I looked at a couple different D3 schools. I was talking to the coach at Jacksonville University, which is a D1 program in Florida. And then my first offer that I had sat on for a little bit that I was actually struggling with was one that I got April of my senior year of high school. Okay. And it was like such a quick turnaround, even talking to the coach. They were supposed to be at one of my tournaments, didn't end up going. And then she responded to the email within 2 days that I had been like, hey, like, I'm coming to this tournament. I'd love for you guys to come watch me. She was like, I'm sorry we didn't come to the tournament, but we'd still love to get you on a visit, because it was actually St. Mike's in
yeah.
So
that's up there. Vermont, right? Yeah, that's cold.
Yeah, and it's funny because I get done with the tournament. It was a weekend tournament, so we get back from New Jersey Sunday, and then Tuesday night we drove to Vermont. Okay. And I practiced with the team because, I mean, as you know, the Division II rules allow for players that are being recruited to practice with the team.
I actually didn't know that, but
well, now you do know.
It's good to know.
And so I practiced with the team. The coach sat down with me and my parents and put an offer on the table the same day. And I was like, wow, like, this is really exciting. And we leave their athletic center and we get in the car to go back to the hotel. And I was like, why am I not more excited about this? Like, I was excited about it because it was something that I had been working so hard for, but at the same time I was like, do I really see myself here? Yeah. And so the next morning she texted me. She's like, hey, like, no rush, but obviously we're going to be starting our new season coming up. Like, we're looking at next year's class as well. Like, we just want to be able to get things moving with you with the admissions process as well if you're looking at going here. So if you could give us an answer by the end of the week, that would be awesome. And at the time, I'd also already been in touch with the Moyne coaches, and I did another visit with them, and they were like, we don't want to close the door on this opportunity, but we don't think we've seen enough of you to make a decision yet. And so I got in the car that day to go home, and I literally just started bawling my eyes out in the back seat. And my mom was like, are you okay? Why are you crying? I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And it really sucks because this is something that I worked so hard for. And so within the next 3 days, I texted the coach back. I was like, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I just don't think that it's the right spot for me. And she was like, no worries. Like, once you get yourself situated, if you ever want to transfer, you always know that you can reach back out. We should have a spot available for you. So at this point, Lemoyne still hadn't given me an answer. And July, so after I had graduated high school and all that stuff, they had an ID clinic 10 days before the first Division I season was about to start. I ended up driving myself, and then my dad plays pickup basketball on the east side. So
shout out to him, man. I gotta tap in with your dad, man. I gotta get some hoops in.
So he ended up coming to watch, even though he was like, I'm going to be playing basketball, I can't be there. And it was a godsend that he had came to watch because the coach at the time was like, are your parents here? We'd love to have a chat with you after the clinic concludes. I was like, yeah, my dad actually just showed up, so I'll let him know that he's got to stick around. And they had a couple other girls they needed to talk to before me, and I went last out of the 4 or 5 girls he had to talk to. So my dad was just reminding me, he was like, you want to know what, this could end up really good, it could end up really bad. Doesn't mean you have to stop touching a soccer ball for the rest of your life, but it might not, the conversation might not go the way you want it to, and you have to be prepared for that. So they call us over after they talked for a couple minutes, and the coach went through his standard questions, how do you think you did? What do you think you did good? What do you think you did bad? All of those things. They sort of checked in with me to see where my process with recruiting had been since we had last talked. And the last thing that he asked me before the good news, he was like, do you want the good or the bad news? I was like, you know what? I don't know how this conversation's going to go, so I'd rather end on a high note, so let's go with the good news or the bad news. And he was like, well, the bad news is that you're going to have a lot of paperwork to fill out in the next 10 days, but the good news is that you have a spot on our team. And I was, it's really funny because you could even ask my dad about it. He was he jumped out of his chair. He ran up and down the study lounge in the athletic center, and I was just sitting there because I hadn't processed it. I was like, okay. And he sat back down. He was like, do you know what they just told you? I was like, oh, right. Wow, I have a spot on this team. Yes. So the way that my process went, I would never go through it again, but I also would not trade it for anything else because it taught me that sometimes waiting is the only thing that God wants you to do and that he'll allow you to do in order for your best opportunities to be shown to you. So, yeah. We
talked about this off camera yesterday, but you mentioned how, I want to say it was your freshman or sophomore year, that you gave up gymnastics for soccer. Why soccer? What is it about the game that drew you to it, and how was that process giving up something that you were so passionate about and really committing to soccer? Yeah,
so I had officially given up gymnastics, I want to say 8th grade going into my freshman year. I fell in love with gymnastics from watching the 2012 Olympics, actually. That was that team that they had representing the U.S. was the one thing that I was all right, now I know what I want to do with my life, and I was 6 years old at the time. So I competed for 7 years. I went to 2 different gyms. One was very popular because they were USA Gymnastics, so they were more nationally, locally based with their competition. But then the transition that I made to the other gym was international, so I actually got the opportunity to compete in state and world championships at 12 years old, which is crazy to think about. But it was just one of those things where it was you were on a team, but you were still competing for yourself. Your scores ultimately would matter in the end for the team, but more importantly, you would sit there for, when they went through awards after the competition, you would sit there for 40 minutes with them going through all of the different categories in the age groups before they actually got to the team awards. So it was one of those things where I was I think this is more about myself than it is being a part of a team. And that also showed with how we interacted with one another. There was a lot of animosity. There was a lot of secret jealousy when people were doing better than other people on the team. And I didn't like that. It was, especially at 12 years old, I didn't want to go into anything else in my life. Even if I had continued doing gymnastics, I didn't want to go into anything else in my life with that mindset that it was more about myself. When our team was small at this gym, but like there were still 11 other girls there. I was like, I don't want to play a sport that requires me to be more focused on myself when I have 11 other people on my team as well. And soccer, just like you really can't play you can get, like, teams can get a red card and they can play a man down, but genuinely, like, you can't play the game 1 versus 11 on the other team. Like, you have to have everybody backing you. You have to be working hard for yourself. You have to be working hard for all of the 10 other people that are on the field with you, or the rest of your team that's on the bench. Like, it comes as an effort from everybody. So that was something that really drew me in, because, like, with gymnastics, it was an effort from everybody, but ultimately, if you didn't place top 3 on whatever event you were competing on, it didn't matter if your team got first place, you still, at least for me, still felt worthless. So it's like, it was just something that I was like, I can't see myself doing this. And especially because I didn't feel like I was behind, but when you're a gymnast, it is really weird to think that, like, when you want to compete at the college level, like, I have a bunch of friends that went Division III, but it was either Division I or you were just going to quit gymnastics, because gymnastics programs are so hard to get into at the Division I level. So it was like, I also just don't think that I can see myself competing at that level, and it's competing at the highest level is something I know I can do, and if it's not in this sport, then I want to find out what sport it is going to be for me. So that was kind of what drew me into soccer.
Yeah, and I love, I feel like you have such a mature perspective on these things that you face. Was that cultivated from, lessons that you learned from your parents really young, or was it certain things that happened that kind of helped you to open up your mind to these lessons?
I think more or less my parents, for sure, and it actually does help having my dad. I bring this up with my coaches all the time when I talk to them. Like, it's really nice to have someone like my dad in my life, because he not only, like, some people just aren't fortunate enough to have their father in their life anymore, but on top of that, like, he played at the highest of high levels. Like, he was a 2-year player at Virginia Tech. He transferred to East Tennessee State. He's in their Football Hall of Fame. He played a preseason with the LA Chargers, and he was in the Canadian Football League. So he really knows that it's football, but he knows the ropes of how those things go. And I had coaches in gymnastics that, like, obviously they always want, most of them at least, always want the best for you, but still, because of the backgrounds that they had come from, the way that they coached was not something that was normal for a 12-year-old to have to deal with. Like, wasn't necessarily degrading, but, like, a lot of the stuff that they would put us through, whether it's, like, conditioning, getting ready for competition, it just felt like something that you should be doing as a professional at 24, 25 years old, not an 11-year-old who, like, hasn't even left elementary school yet. So it was really nice to have someone like him to ground me through those things, because like, I would do, and I think that's part of what stemmed with my problems from, like, feeling like I was worthless when I didn't place first, second, or third on an event. It was understanding, like, you're not always going to be the best. You're going to have your bad days, and, like, again, that's a lot for an 11-year-old to grasp, but, like, you have to be able to understand it to move on, and especially with a sport like gymnastics, when you get an award, you get, like, they put a medal around your neck, but if it's not gold, silver, or bronze, like, and you hang it on your wall when you get home from the competition, like, I hated looking at it when it wasn't first, second, or third, and I didn't like to feel like I was worthless because I didn't get first, second, or third, and it was really nice to have someone like him to be like, I was a professional athlete. Like, if anyone can tell you that you're going to have bad days, it's me. Like, come on. It's inevitable. Everyone goes through it, like, nobody's perfect. So it's something that I'm even still learning now as a college athlete. Like, I have 1 year left, but it's something that I'm learning as a college athlete. It's something that I'm learning as a daughter. It's something that I'm learning as a sister. Like, they're life lessons that you can carry with you other than places that are like sports. So
absolutely. And was there any trickle over into soccer with that, like, lack of self-worth when it comes to, like, winning and losing and stuff like that?
Definitely, only because I started so much later than all of my friends did, because I was best friends with all of the girls that played soccer, and it wasn't because I was attracted to the sport. We just ended up being friends all through elementary school, all throughout middle school, high school.
And you weren't playing soccer during this time? Oh, wow.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I actually didn't start until 7th grade.
Wow.
And so, like, I had the athleticism, but all of, like, the cool technical stuff that they could do, like, their finishing, like, granted, modified isn't usually the greatest, I mean, nowhere near the greatest level that you could play at, but, like, I still felt so behind, regardless of the fact that I was probably 2 or 3 times faster than half of them were, just because I didn't know how to do the other stuff. So giving myself grace to be like, these girls started playing soccer at the same time that you started doing gymnastics, so you have to understand that they already are going to have a jump in their ability simply because they've been doing it a lot longer than you have, and you have to be able to understand that you can get to that level too, but, like, you're not at it right now, and you have to be okay with that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, as an athlete, you understand how we can identify so much with our sport. And so often, a lot of the issues you see on the court, the field, whatever it is, in the pool, a lot of the issues can stem from off the court stuff, out the
Yeah.
field stuff and stuff like that. And so, was there anything that you experienced that kind of put a halt in your journey as far as, you know, showing up, playing soccer, embracing it, and then something happens and you're like, hold on, like, there's a lot more to this journey than just playing soccer?
I like how you asked that question, because I know what conversation you're thinking about that we had yesterday.
Yeah.
So my freshman year of high school, I will start with soccer. The varsity coach hadn't, like, openly promised me a spot, but she was like, we think that you could be a 4-year varsity player. And that got my hopes very high for my first year, and then I ended up being on JV. So it was like, all right, that's a slap in the face, but, you know, it's nothing I can't handle. So that happens, and then, like, I start school and all this stuff, and then there was this kid that I ended up in a relationship with that was only a month long. So all of the stuff that stemmed from it, I'm not sure how it happened.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where, especially going into COVID, like, I spent a lot of time isolating myself. Like, I wasn't eating very much. I was trying to sleep, but I wasn't sleeping a ton. I was really, like, conscious of everything that I was, well, not conscious, but, like, sensitive to everything that I was saying or, like, receiving from people, and, like, our conversations. And it got to a point where I was, like, especially because of everything that happened, like, with the relationship. Granted, we were only together for a month, but, like, the problems continued after that. Like, there was a point where, and I didn't share this with you yesterday. It's embarrassing, but, like, it's funny to me now. Don't worry. The girl that he ended up dating after we broke up was, like, I hate using the word ghetto, but it's true. She was. And
I got you. I know what you mean.
And she, like, tried pressing me in school for some reason. I don't really know what it was. And he watched it happen, didn't do anything about it. I went home and told my parents, and my dad was so fed up with everything that had happened with this kid that he was like, I want you to tell your teachers that I want to set up a meeting with this kid in the counselor's office, like, between him and my dad, not, like, I wasn't going to be there for it. And I was like, I don't need you to, no, it's okay. I'm 14. This relationship it lasted a month. I don't need you to do that for me. So he doesn't end up doing it. And after that all happens, we go into lockdown, and at that point, more than I had before, I really wasn't eating, I really wasn't sleeping. I also didn't have soccer to distract me because, like, our practices were on Zoom. We couldn't see each other in person for practice for 4 months. And I started developing thoughts of self-harm, suicide, and it got to a point where I actually did, like, I acted on the self-harm but not the suicide attempt. And it was something that I hadn't had thoughts about before, so I didn't know how to suppress the thoughts, and when I actually didn't, I didn't really know how to cope with it. And so because it was something I never thought about before, like, I didn't want to tell my parents, I didn't want any of my friends finding out, didn't want any of my teachers finding out, and the only person that I knew in that moment that I could trust to keep that between us was my sister. And so the first time that I had attempted self-harm, I called her, and I was like, I felt embarrassed to even, like, ashamed to even tell her, but I was like, I know that I need help, but I don't know who I'm supposed to go to ask for it. And so the first thing that she says, she's like, do you have your Bible near you? I was like, yeah, like, it feels kind of irrelevant to the situation. Being someone who's been a Christian as young as I was, even at this point, I was like, I don't think my Bible is the thing that I need right now, Mariah. And she was like, you need to open it. Go grab it and open it. And she tells me to go to Psalm 139. I actually have it pulled up because I didn't want to butcher it.
You got
and so it says, I started from verse 2. It says, you know when I sit down and when I rise up, you discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot contain it. And the next verse says, where shall I go from your spirit? And I don't know what it was because I continued reading after that, but my brain just like turned off after I read that part and it said, where shall I go from your spirit? I was like, it wasn't from a place of like hurt or sorrow that I was like, wow, like, I can't run anywhere from God's spirit. Like he knows that this day was going to happen. He knew what I was going to do to myself, but at the same time, like he also knows where my mind is going to be at after this, like how it's going to help me grow as a person. And she, after I stopped reading, she was like, for someone to take so much time and energy and thought and put it into creating a human like you, by you acting on these thoughts, you're messing with something that God created and despite all of your imperfections still saw as perfect. And that really I sat with that for a while after we got off of the phone and I was like, I don't ever want to do that to myself again, no matter how worthless I might feel. Like when I get in arguments with my sister, even when I get in arguments with my parents, my friends, like there's still someone through all of those imperfections and the things that might come out of my mouth when we argue and the feelings that I might feel when they spit back at me, like there's someone who still thinks that I'm perfect above all of this. And that honestly has helped me a lot to tame those thoughts of self-harm because I've been clean for 5 years. So it's helped me when I get into those moments where I'm like, I had one yesterday when I got home. I didn't tell you that, but I had one. I was like, my mom asked me if I was okay when I came in the house. I was like, I just feel really off today. Like, I don't know what it is. And at 14 years old, I wasn't admitting that when I came in the house and I felt off. And it even felt weird doing that yesterday. And I was like, wow, like I've grown so much from the person that I was when all of this happened before, enough to the point that I can admit to my parents that I didn't have a bad day, just something doesn't feel right. And it's really helped me to be like, okay, like, I'm allowed to have bad days. Everyone's allowed to have bad days. And it's okay to not be okay, and it's also okay to ask for help. And the more that you sit with that and the more you get comfortable with going to people and asking for help, like I don't go to therapy anymore, but I was going for a really long time, the easier it becomes to be in tune with your emotions, which is such a beautiful thing to be able to do. But on top of that, to recognize those signals with someone else when they might not be as willing to ask for help, but like you're able, because you've gone through that, like you can recognize those things without them verbally coming to you and be like, hey, like I'm not doing well, like I need help right now. And that's something that a lot of people are not gifted with the ability to do, and I'm so fortunate that I am for that reason. So.
Absolutely. And it was birthed from that experience of what you went through. And I remember you mentioning too just how heavy emotionally it was for you, and how like it was, like you're going through the motions, you're young, you're doing your thing, and then this thing happens and it just takes you back and these thoughts are racing and you feel all of this emotional heaviness within. How did you navigate the emotional side of things on top of the thoughts?
Yeah, so a little bit more recently, I know we talked about this yesterday as well, but I was in a relationship for like 2.5 years, and a lot of what happened with my attempt my freshman year, I think developed somewhat of anxiety and depression. And my mom loved her to pieces, so if you watch this, I'm not talking bad about you, don't worry.
Shout out to my dude.
She isn't someone who's against medical help, but she was like, I don't want you to go on all these antidepressants and all these things because, like, you don't get the opportunity, as we talked about yesterday, and I really like that you mentioned it, like, when you go on those meds, like, you don't get the opportunity to feel those emotions because it is a suppressant. And so I never got medicated for any of that. And in the moment when she told me that I couldn't go get tested and get diagnosed, it felt more like it was a slap in the face than me flipping the switch on the other side of my brain and being like, okay, she's doing this to help me. It's not because she doesn't, like, she thinks of me as less of a daughter than she actually thinks that I am.
Absolutely.
So my senior year of high school, right before I broke up with this kid, actually, we got into a fight about, it was really something childish. It was just about the fact, because of our age difference, like, he was like, you're meeting a lot more people, like, I can't control what you do, blah, 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 and all these things. And at one point, I had just gotten so overwhelmed because my parents, like, my sister doesn't live at home anymore, so I couldn't talk to her. My parents had gone to sleep, so, I just started crying. And I was sitting in my room trying to, like, fix the situation, because I'm someone who's very big on, like, I can cut ties with people, but I'm going to try as hard as I can to keep that relationship before I actually have to cut ties with that person. And I love it and hate it about myself, you know? And so I was laying on my floor, and all of a sudden, like, my ears just completely went mute. It wasn't really I knew that it wasn't from my sinuses, because I get very bad sinus infections. I knew that it wasn't from my sinuses, that my chest was feeling like it was closing up. And I was like, all right, from all the stuff that I experienced with my self-harm and the period that I went through starting high school, like, this is another new feeling that I'm not comfortable with. Like, I don't really know how to deal with this either. And so I laid down on my floor, and I was looking up at the ceiling. I was like, I can't breathe. And because I can't breathe, like, I can't call for help. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do right now. And something that I appreciate about the relationship that I had with this kid was that he helped me, like, regulate my emotions. One of the things that we did was we went through the 5 senses. So I did 5 things I could see, 4 things I could touch, 3 things I could hear, 2 things I could smell, 1 thing I could taste. And usually, because it takes your brain, I'm not going to say psychologically, because I don't even know if this is true, just from the way that I've experienced it, like, when you have to sit and think about those things because they come so naturally to us, it feels like it takes, in those moments, it feels like it takes much longer for those feelings and those nerves to subside. But in the time that you have to think about each of those senses was the time that my body immediately started calming down. And so that's something that I thankfully haven't had any of those episodes recently, but, like, when I do, or when I feel them coming, I know to do those things because I can stop them from happening before they actually occur. And then when they do actually occur, like, I know that I can do that to suppress those feelings. So
And I also want to preface with, we mentioned this yesterday, like, we're not against medication. We're not against people you know, going on that. I think it's a case-by-case situation. You know, when I was going through, you know, my situation with bipolar and being on, you know, dealing with anxiety as well, I did start off on medication, but it just really didn't work for me because of that. Like, I just felt like I was a zombie, you know, not really feeling anything, and that just wasn't it. So I just want to preface it with that. But I think what you're saying is so real, and I think your ability to not run from what you were dealing with allowed you to gain the perspective and the understanding of how to navigate these things. So now you're at a place to where, as a human, you're going to feel anxious. Sometimes you're going to feel different emotions, but you've learned practices and things that you can, you know, use in those moments to help regulate you, which I think is huge. But I think that stems from you not running from the things that you're facing. And so what is some advice? I mean, your name is Hope, which is so beautiful. What's some advice that you could give to some people, maybe your age, younger, older, whatever it is, dealing with certain things, on not running and facing and understanding that, like, it may feel like in the moment it's consuming you, it's, you know, taking over, but it's not forever.
Yeah. One of the biggest things from a Christian lens, no matter the mistakes you make, Jesus is not going to love you any differently. And on top of that, if you feel like for some reason that you need to run from those things, run to him more than anything. that's something that's kept me grounded, seeing how friends have dealt with divorce, loss of family members. Like, a lot of them will turn to drugs, they'll turn to drinking, they'll turn to things that are going to temporarily suppress those feelings, but in the end, they're probably going to leave you feeling a lot more empty than you were before. And I've been so fortunate to have a relationship with Jesus because I don't have to turn to those things when I feel those feelings. But from a more fleshly standpoint, it seems kind of cliche, but life literally goes on. Like, that sounds tough, but that's the most simple way that I could put it. I could sit and have conversations with my friends about these things for 3 hours, and we could be talking ourselves in circles, and the only thing that I'm going to remember is the fact that life goes on. Like, you can spend your whole life talking about a situation that impacted you negatively, and the fact that you can't go back and change the past, you should feel fortunate, because, like, that means that you get to look ahead to the things that are going to be impactful for you in the future. And when you're looking at the things that you can't change in the past, you miss the present moment that you're in.
That's big.
And, I mean, on top of that, like, life goes on, but also there's actually another verse that I shared with you yesterday in the book of Matthew where the verse says, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough troubles of its own. Like, I think as humans, we get tunnel vision so quickly, and we talked about this from an athlete's perspective too yesterday. Like, something that I even talked to my coaches about that I struggle with, like, consistently, is when I make a bad play, whether it's still in the heat of the game or I'm going back and watching film, I fixate so badly on the things that I'm doing wrong because I know my potential. And I forget that there's other plays that I made that were great. Like, at our game against New Haven last week, I had a pretty crappy second half that I played, but like, the first half I drew us a penalty, and that was what helped us get to a 2-0 win that game.
Wow.
So it's like, when you fixate on the things that you do so poorly, or you fixate on the things that happened in the past, or you fixate on the fear of not knowing what's coming next, you don't get the opportunity to actually enjoy the present moment that you're in. So something that I'm very big on is just the fact that, like, life goes on. And it sounds crazy coming from someone like me because I'm so sensitive and I'm so in tune with my emotions, and I know that I can do things better, but instead of actually doing them better, I just fixate on the fact that I did it wrong in the first place. But, like, I'm still learning like everyone else is, but, like, you have the only way that you're going to be able to move on from it in the first place is if you keep taking the next steps forward. So, yeah.
And did what you experience help shift your perspective on struggle, adversity, difficulty moving forward? And, like, what is that perspective now? How do you view going through struggles, going through difficulty, maybe a setback, a tough season, an injury, a loss? Like, how do you deal with those things?
So,
from a perspective standpoint.
Last season, actually, my sophomore year, I came in, so a little backstory, I came in as a freshman with the notion that I was going to be a redshirt, like just a practice player, because that was what my coaches had told me at the time. And at that point in my career, like my freshman season, very last recruit of my class, but I played, like, and I don't have the most minutes now, but I played the most amount of minutes out of all of our freshmen that they had recruited that year. And I played all but one game. I started 10 of them. And so coming off of a season like my freshman year and then coming into my sophomore year, I didn't prepare myself enough coming into it. And I think it was because my freshman year, we only had 5 people pass our fitness test. And
I remember that. That was I remember that.
Yeah, it was quite an experience because we did fat camp for 2 weeks. So, coming off of something like that, I guess I didn't understand the weight of the preparedness that you have to have as a college athlete. And so I ended up completely, like, I didn't come in fit. I only played 5 games last year, and I was really struggling with whether or not I should continue soccer or I was even going to get the opportunity to. And on top of that, I lost 2 family members to cancer very, like, not really abruptly, because I think a lot of people in my family had known. I just, like, wasn't as in tune with the fact that they didn't have as much time left as we thought they did. And it happened at a time that the season had already been over, and when we're done for the semester, like, we'll get together and do team building stuff, but, like, we don't have formal practices, we don't have games, we don't have anything like that. So I had soccer as a distraction still, but only to an extent. And so going through something like that, bouncing back in the spring and then coming in this year, granted I only started 3 games, but I still played in almost all of them. Like, you're going to get out of it what you put into it is the first thing that I had to remember, especially coming into a year like this. And even preparing over the summer, there were days that, like, there was one day I think over the summer, like right before the season started, I went on a run because I was like, I got to get the last bit of cardio that I can get in before we go and do this test next week. And I think I ran like 6 miles or something like that. But I got home and I literally, like, so the neighborhood that I ran in was, like, I want to say a mile down the road. So I ran on the main road from my neighborhood to this neighborhood, and then, like, I ran back, and I got to a point when I was in the other neighborhood that I started crying. I was like, I don't want to feel like this right now, because my chest started getting, like, I couldn't breathe because, I mean, I was running. That's just what your body does when you're doing cardio.
Right. Yeah, right.
And I was like, I know that I'm cut out for this, but part of me just, like, having to do the preparation part was the worst part about all of this.
Yeah.
And so I finally get done with my run. Like, I get back to my neighborhood, and I just, like, I sat in the driveway and I cried for a second. I was like, it's a privilege to be going through this right now, but it's also, like, I can't believe that I can't just be athletic anymore, because it cut it for me when I was in high school and when I was playing club and when I was playing soccer, like in middle school, even when I was doing gymnastics. Just having the athletic gene in my body cut it for me, and now it doesn't. Like,
wow.
It's the saying that Kobe says, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So it's like there's that extra step that you have to be willing to take, and in that moment when you get the tunnel vision again, like, the reward is going to be greater than the journey that you're on right now, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest thing, because, like, coming off of last season, I was like, I'm going to bust my behind to get ready for this season, but I'm not going to go and expecting that that's going to get me what I'm asking for. And
that's deep.
Even at that point, it did. And it was something that I really didn't take for granted after that, especially because I'm going to be going into my senior season next year. Like, I only get one more chance to do this that I know of. If God has it in the plans for me to continue playing soccer, I can't see that right now, and that's not something for me to worry about until that moment in time.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that I can do, and I talked to my coaches about this on Monday because I had a meeting with them, like, the only thing that I can do is prepare myself and be 10 times more of an athlete than I was this past season that just concluded. So, waiting, I mean, is really the biggest lesson that I've learned. Like, you're going to put in the work, but if God doesn't give you the reward right away, you have to be okay with that, because if he doesn't give it to you right away, it means that he's going to give it to you when he feels that you're ready for it.
Patience. Patience. And before we get into the final round questions, how do you think you've grown as a person since you've been here at Le Moyne, and what are some things that you really value about, this school and this institution that has really helped you to develop? Yeah, so the one thing that I like that I honestly think I wouldn't have gotten, I don't think I would have gotten the experience if I was at a bigger school, the more that I think about it. But, like, our athletic department is so close. And to have something like that, like, the one relationship that I look at besides my coaches when I think about, like, how close our athletic department is, someone like Champ, who was your basketball coach, because my dad played, they played pickup basketball together. So snap. I came in my freshman year, and I recognized his face, but I was like, I can't put a name to a face right now. And so I remember I went home the first day after our preseason, like, practices,
And I told my dad, I was like, there was this guy there that, like, said hi to me, and he coaches a basketball team. I have no idea who he is, though. Like, he was like, oh, that's, like, Nate Champion. I was like, wow, like, the little connections, because then that was in the moment that he told me that they played pickup basketball together,
Right.
and immediately the memories of being there watching them playing together was like, wow, like, that's such a small world. And on top of that, one of my dad's best friends and one of Nate's best friends is Fling and Prince.
Oh, yeah.
And I've
yeah.
known their family for a very long time, so it's like the closeness
Wow.
provides the connections as well. But even outside of that, like, I have such a good relationship with our communication staff as well. Like, I go every Friday to take pictures for our men's lacrosse team, and when Liza's in there, like, she'll, even if she's in her office, like, she'll just check in with me. She's being like, how you doing? Like, how's soccer? How's academics? Like,
Yeah,
that
she's
kind
great.
of stuff. And on top of that, like, relationships like the one that I have with Champ, I remember actually the way that I got my sort of position taking pictures for the men's lacrosse team was I have the weakest ankles in the world, and I've been doing rehab since I got here for them, and I'm in there so much when we're in the off season that Dan Sheehan, the men's head lacrosse coach, he came in one time and he, like, said hi to me, introduced himself, and then he saw me in there twice a week, because I'm in there twice a week when we're in the off season, and he used to make jokes about how he was like, are you ever not injured? Like, blah, 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 blah. And then there was one day that I was doing homework in the athletic center, and he was like, do you know anything about lacrosse? I was like, a little bit, because I used to play. I was like, I know a little bit. He was like, do you know how to work a camera? I was like, yeah, like, that's part of my major. I'm a communications major. He was like, we need someone to run our social media in the fall. Like, do you want to do that? I was like, so the closeness and the opportunities that land in your lap when you choose to go out of your shell, like, like, it's crazy how quickly these opportunities can fall in your lap when you take that step. But on top of that, like, just the community, and for someone who's from Syracuse too, like, the community that surrounds Lemoyne, it just feels so tight-knit. Like, and especially with a school as big as Syracuse that's right near us, like, there's a herbal nutrition place that's, like, on Syracuse's campus, but they offer 10% off for Lemoyne and Syracuse students. And I went in for the first time this semester in, like, the beginning of September, and since then I've become very close with, like, all of their workers that work there, and they
What's
like
that
know
called? Herbalist what?
it's herbal nutrition, but
Herbal
the
nutrition.
name of the place is actually Cuse Nutrition. So all of their products are through herbal nutrition, but they make, like, meal replacement shakes. They do protein, like, they do protein balls. It's so good. I totally recommend it. But
definitely.
yeah, like, the community surrounding Lemoyne is so tight, and not only tight, but, like, intentional.
Yeah.
Like, my professors all know my name, and not even just because I have, like, I'm a student athlete, so that makes it a lot easier to be recognized, but, like, the classes are so small that, like, it's not even an obligation. Like, they get the opportunity to know your name and have that connection with you, and that's something that, especially having a sister who went to a bigger school, like, those lectures at Liberty have, like, 500 kids in them. You don't get the opportunity to do that.
So
like,
true.
you might need one thing from your professor for the entire semester, and if you go up to him at the end of class, he's probably going to ask you what your name is, simply because he doesn't have the time to learn 500 kids' names.
Wow.
So the tightness, but also the intentionality behind, like, how I get to communicate with other student athletes, with other coaches from other teams, like, the professors, the admission staff, like, it doesn't matter who it is, like, they're intentional about their relationships with you. So yeah,
Absolutely. And I really could ask you probably, like, 50 more questions. We could sit here for hours.
Just gonna have to do another episode.
Yeah,
then.
we will, because it is really good, and I really do appreciate just your vulnerability and honesty and the way that you've just taken control over your story, and I think that's what really leads to inspiring others to do the same. So thank you for that.
Of course.
But before we end, we are going to go with the quick fire round. So these are just
Okay.
short, authentic answers, short questions. So, all right, hope these are your quick fire round questions. First is coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
I'd say night owl. I find it really hard to go to bed at night for no reason. I don't even need to be doing anything. It'll just take me like 3 hours to fall asleep from in bed. So night person.
So you need to. So if you're trying to go to bed at 10, you need to be prepping.
I need to be
at
in
7.
bed by like 7 o'clock.
Okay. Favorite food spot in or around Syracuse?
Copper Top, hands down. I
Copper
grew
Top?
up here. I grew up here, and the church that my family used to go to, there was a Copper Top that was like maybe 5 minutes away. We would go after church every Sunday. It's American. It's a tavern, so it's American food. But we'd go every Sunday. We asked for the same waitress every single time, and their food is never not bad. So
Oh, no, never not good.
never not good. Yeah.
I got
There you go. At least
I've
you
heard-
saved me. You
Yeah,
saved
no,
me.
you're good. You're good. You're good. I've never had Copper Top though. I've driven
Gotta
by
add
it
it to the
before.
list.
All right.
So good.
I got you. If you could learn any skill instantly, what would it be? Anything in the world.
Telekinesis.
That's that by far the best answer we've had. By far, that's
I would
such
never
a good,
have to leave the couch to do
Dang, that's
anything.
good. Oh, that's good. That makes so. Yeah, that's great. Oh man, I would. That's amazing. I can't believe I never thought of that. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
I would say I can sing, but like that's slowly but surely kind of leaving the system, because I sing the national anthem for our guys' games, and they've asked me to do it for basketball. I did it for lacrosse. So I'm gonna say that my pinkies don't straighten, and I was born with them like that.
Okay.
They
You
don't.
said it's slowly leaving the system. You can sing, stop, and that is that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that until you said that. That's a good point. All
Well,
right.
it's funny because my dad, he wasn't born with them like that, but he broke both of them playing football. But then I was born with them like that, so I don't really know how it happened. But I can't straighten them.
Okay,
so.
okay, that's good to know. Now I'm gonna be looking at your pinkies. All right. Dream dinner guest, anyone dead or alive. Who would you love to have dinner with?
Martin Luther King Jr.
It's a good one.
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
That's a good one. Who or what inspires you most right now?
Honestly, Philip Anthony Mitchell, he runs 2819 Church
Yeah,
in
he's
Virginia.
great.
He is very cut and dry, and I think that I really like that about him, because in a society like today, like it's really hard to be a Christian and not want to turn to the things of the world, but he's very straight to the point. Like, God asks us to do this, and he doesn't ask, like it's a demand. And that's something that, as someone who's grown up in church, like you don't find that very often. And my mom and I listen to him all the time, and it scares me to listen to him when he's just like yelling at the congregation profusely for most of the sermon. But like, if that's how you have to get the point across to me, then do it, you know?
Yeah, he's
So,
very passionate. You can feel it. It's real. And if everybody from Lemoyne was listening right now, what's one message you would want to share with them?
trust in God's plan. You know, he knows what time you're going to go to bed tonight. He knows what time you're going to wake up tomorrow. Like, your story's already been written, and you have to be okay with that, but B, like, trust that he's not going to set you up for failure. That's not his work. That's the work of the devil. He knows what's best for you. You have to trust that. You have to put the next foot forward, even when the bad things happen, because there's most of the time something better that's going to come after that. So.
And I have to ask you one more. One word to describe Lemoyne, because I want to hear what you say.
I've never been asked this before.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's why you did it. I'm just going to go back to intentional.
I like
think
that.
that with such a close community, like the relationships that you find, whether it's as an athlete on the field, on the court, off the field, in the classroom, like your professors are intentional about your relationships. You get to meet other people from other teams, and I think
Yeah.
at big schools you don't always get opportunities like that, so I'll say intentional.
Intentional. And I think this was a very intentional conversation. So thank
I
you
do as well, of
so
course.
much, Hope. And that is it for today. We want to give a huge thanks to LCTV for making this podcast possible here in the studio space, to the Carroll College of Arts and Sciences, to the Grace Center for also making this possible, and to Put God First, whose support helps this podcast run each and every week. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Grace Center and LCTV in the links below, and we will see you next week.